Hello and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be reviewing another palette. This one is also by Lorac. They actually have released two different palettes very recently. The first one was I Love Brunch, which is a pastel palette, and this one is called California Dreaming. And no, it's a little bit different. It's only $30, which is cheaper than what Lorac normally is, and you get 12 shades. And it is a little bit smaller palette, as you can see, in size, but I actually found like the eyeshadows were actually, it was quite generous, the amount that they gave. So it was actually a really nice price. I really like the aesthetics of this palette. It's raised ridges, and it's just kind of nice. It's really well thought out, really nice to look at. So that was one of the selling points to me. Yeah, if it's visually appealing, I'm going to buy it. I'm like a 5-year-old, but I love it. So there are 12 shadows inside and also a mirror. With some of the palettes lately, they've been, when you buy them, they come in a box and you get a primer and a brush. You do not get that with this palette, but for $30 I'm not too upset about it. I'm not going to be mad about it. So it actually is a pretty decent price. You can see it continues with the decoration in here. So the inspiration of this palette was California. And I have to say, I'm originally from California. I don't really get that vibe from this, because you'll see there's a lot of like terracotta, kind of orangish red colors. You'll see right here in this corner, and then the brown and like the browns here. It actually, for me, reminds me more of the Southwest. So if you've been to Arizona or New Mexico, you know what I'm talking about. I actually was recently in Arizona and did some hiking in Sedona. This should be the Sedona palette. I know, I mean, because for me, when I think of California, I think there should be some kind of blue, green, I mean the Pacific, come on, there should be some more blues, something. And I just, looking at the palette, these two guys kind of stick out, the two charcoal black colors. So I don't know quite how they fit. It was kind of like in the peach palette, there was the top derby to me and one other color that were just black. And it wasn't too well thought out, and I kind of get that with this too. I have used this palette a little bit, and there's really no way for me to incorporate these two because I'm so pale I don't tend to use black tones that often. So that's just me and a personal preference. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to swatch these so you can see them up close and personal. I'm going to come back and give my final review. So on to the swatching. I'm going to start with the first row first, starting with Sandcastle, which is the white of the group. The next one is Button, which is sort of a light pale color, light beige color. The next one is Overcast, which is the purple of the group. There we go. The next one is Bonfire, which is pink. Again, really well. You'll kind of notice that there is some powderiness to the color, so there is some fallout. So if that's a problem for you, I am finding that the Overcast and Bonfire, which are these two colors, and even a little bit of Button, have a lot of fallout. Sandcastle actually was fine, but the other three, just be aware. Okay, so the next row is Hot Toddy, and I have to be honest, I've had a few of these recently. Yeah, so there we go. It's kind of like a brick red kind of color, as you can see. The next one is Starfish, which would complement the last one quite well. The next one is Seaside, which is a dark charcoal color, which you can kind of see. Now this one I'm finding to be really patchy, which you can see. A second coat fixed that, but it is indeed patchy. The next one is Cable Knit, which is kind of a purpley brown. Again, you'll see there's a lot of fallout there, but it applies decently, but it is a little bit patchy. But again, there is fallout on this one, but the other three seem to be fine. On to the last row, so the last four. The next one is Cozy, which is a light kind of pinkish, or I'm sorry, peach color. Goes on quite nicely. The next one is Boots, which is a black tone. Goes on really well. It goes on a lot better than Seaside, which was the second dark color. There is a little bit of patchiness, but I think that's more of just the way that I put it onto my arm.
yeah, goes on quite nicely. So the next one is Kitty Cat, which is the one I've been kind of eyeing from the beginning, and it does not disappoint. This one is really, really beautiful. Hands down my favorite of this palette. So the last one is 65 Degrees, which is another shimmery tone. It's a nice color, though it's showing up a lot lighter than in the palette. And it takes a couple swipes to build up to get the look that you want. But it really is a pretty color once you get to that, after you've put it on your arm a couple times, and probably the same with your eye. But I think Kitty Cat's definitely the winner of this. Again, there is some fallout with this, but I do think the colors are really nice, so I'm excited to work with this.
Those were the swatches, as you can see, hits and misses. I will say, having used this already, I'm wearing it actually now. My eye look now is using this palette. And I also did use it a few times this week just to test it out, because I don't want to just review something without having an idea of how it wears or how it applies. And I will say that the lighter colors do go on quite nicely. I mean, you can see that, boom, getting it done. But I do feel like something like Bonfire, which is this color that I used, didn't go on quite as well. But part of it is my skin tone. It almost matches it. But what I also did find is there's a lot of fallout in this palette. A lot of fallout. Especially with Bonfire and Overcast. I was using these two because I'm cool toned. And this is kind of the cool tone corner, and this one's more of a neutral, and this could be used as a neutral. But it's mostly a warm palette. Everything's been warm palettes lately, so I'm desperate for cool tones. So I tried to pull the look together with these guys, and it worked. But what I found is with Overcast, which I love, it's a beautiful crease color, beautiful purple crease color, I kept using it, and it wasn't putting a lot of color onto the eye, which you would expect because it looks darker, but it wasn't. So then, after I finally got what I wanted from the crease colors, I added in Kitty Cat, and I added in, just for a pop of color, Not Today, and then added some more of the Bonfire in the corner. So I added in other colors to get some more dimension, and Overcast started to disappear. So then I had to reapply it. What I will say is the colors didn't get muddled, which will happen with some palettes, which that tells you the quality is not that great. The colors didn't become that muddled brown color. They actually stayed the color they were, but as you blended, it just started losing the pigmentation, and then you'd have to start all over again until you got the desired effect. So you're going to use a lot of product because of that. Also, there is a lot of fallout. Though they are really soft and buttery smooth, the fallout is real, my friends. So you're going to go through a lot more product, plus you're going to have to keep building up. Even with something like Kitty Cat, and I think Kitty Cat, this color here, is the winner of this palette. It's really beautiful, but it's a lot lighter than you'd expect looking at it. You can see it, but you know, it's lighter than I expected. The blacks, you know, like Seaside, I don't know how a black is Seaside, but there it is. You know, it's kind of patchy. It is not strong. Boots does better. Boots actually is a lot better than Seaside. Seaside's kind of a mess. So, you know, the brown goes on well. This one's wah-wah. But, I mean, you could definitely see them. They definitely build up. But with Overcast, if I put it here, you can see it, but then when I see how I move it to blend it, it disappears. It almost completely disappears into your lid. And you can kind of see that happening right there, except with the darkers, they're really staying there. So, you know, all in all, it wasn't necessarily the most solid palette that I have bought recently. To give you the straight dope, I guess if you were to ask me, would I buy this again? I probably wouldn't. If it was permanent and I ran out, would I go back and repurchase it? Probably not. I just feel like a lot of these colors are very dupable. I think Kitty Cat is really unique. I really love Overcast, but again, it's not the best performing one. I feel like we've seen these shades before. There's so many warm palettes out there right now, and none of these are really that unique. So if I were going to buy one of the two palettes that Lorac recently released, I would go with the pastel because I really, really like that palette. You know, it doesn't work for everyone because it is pastels, and I think especially in darker skin tones, it's going to be a harder sell. But I think it's just, if you're a lighter skin tone, cool girl, that way one's the way to go. I think this one's going to be more universally flattering to different skin tones and coloring, you know, most definitely. But I just don't know if the quality is fully there or if it's really fully worth the price. But it is a beautiful palette. It really is. If you don't have anything like it, go get it. But I do feel like there may be better performing palettes with the same color scheme. Yeah, but I'm still glad I bought it, so not all is lost. I mean, it's almost worth it for kitty cat alone, but $30 for one eyeshadow, I'm not made of money. And it, you know, it isn't necessarily worth it for me, but it could be for you. But until next time, have a fabulous day. Bye.